So first of all, I have to say that I love coffee, and this is one of the most difficult things to live. One of the substances or whatever or habits that's been quite difficult to stop. And just to say an example, leaving video games or stopping playing video games is a piece of cake compared to stop having coffee. So and I've been drinking coffee for more than 10 years so far. So it's difficult to break the habit, but I want to explain you why I stopped drinking coffee. So far, it's like 1 week. It's not that much, but I want to tell you a little bit what was my motivation behind that and how the process was or has been so far and what benefits I already start to see. So the reason I stopped having coffee is because I made a video, for example, about attachment a couple of weeks ago, the importance of attachment, and that suffering comes from attachment. And I realized that I was attached to coffee, I was dependent on it, and for me that's unacceptable because, well, I want to be not depend on almost anything, at least, of course, a particular thing. Of course, we need to eat, we need water, but I don't want to be dependent on any particular substance. And for me, coffee was part of my daily routine. I used to have one coffee in the morning and one cup of coffee around noon or 1 p.m. And my life went around those the times where I was on caffeine. So I tried to do all my work I tried to cram as much work as possible during the coffee period, so that after that, because after that I was completely drained and tired. That's the effect that coffee has on you. So yeah, maybe I'm not a huge coffee drinker. I mean, 2 cups, but they're not small. I mean, usually in the literature, when people talk about cups of coffee, I think that my cup is like 3 cups of coffee. So, uh, especially the one in the morning was quite big with the French press. So that's my main reason. I don't want to be dependent on any particular substance, and that's it. Also, I was realizing that coffee wasn't giving me much energy lately, and actually, a couple of months ago, I would say, I started reducing the coffee intake, and I was drinking most of the days one in the morning just to get the day starting. And in the afternoon, I didn't have any coffee. I have maybe herbal tea or stuff like that. And I noticed that a little bit of less of energy for sure, but also I realized that when I'm off of coffee, I way more relaxed and calm. And actually, that's the key realization, in a sense, I had when about how I came up to stop drinking coffee. And I realized this last week. It wasn't long ago. Even though I've been drinking less coffee most of the time for a couple of months, last Saturday I have my coffee in the morning, and but to this day I decide to start uh, doing a meditation first. I was doing meditation like around noon, let's say. So first I have the coffee and do some stuff, and then the meditation. But this Saturday I decide to do the meditation first. So I didn't want to have coffee right before meditation because really it doesn't make sense. So I decide, okay, let's have the coffee after the meditation. So I did that, and what I noticed that the meditation was extremely was extremely powerful in a sense. I could go very deep in a sense because without coffee, I could relax my body way more than I used to do with coffee. So I realized that meditation was way better without coffee. And yeah, this may sound obvious now, because after all, the coffee makes you more stressed, more anxious, and without coffee is quite the opposite. So I realized, oh, I mean, that's a good thing. Meditation was great. So why not try to stay the day without coffee? I used to drink every day coffee, really, especially the one in the morning. Without it, I feel like I'm not, I haven't started my day. So I decided to not have coffee during this Saturday. And yeah, to be honest, the afternoon wasn't that great. I had headaches, and I was feeling lethargic and tired. So, but I decided to go on and see how far could I get without coffee, and see the how my body reacts, because that's the important thing, or sort of the message I want to transmit, if in a sense, that this applies to everything, not only to coffee, of course, but anything that you put, or any practice that you want to do in life, you have to test by yourself. Someone may tell you that's the best thing that it happens to them. For example, now I'm telling you that I will tell you that without coffee your life will be better, but you have to try by yourself. But also I want to try to give some to warn you, because if you try to quit coffee cold turkey, I mean, it will be painful for a couple of days. And in my case, the first 3 days were quite miserable, and I was feeling tired, without energy, without motivation, and I'm quite a motivated person, so being without motivation is not nice. But I realized that I had to go through this process if I want to clean my body of caffeine. And so I did that, and the headaches also last like for 3 days. Not the whole day, usually in the afternoon. So the first 3 days were great, but I went through it. I trust in the process. I also started reading some books. There is a book called Caffeine Blues that's pretty famous, and they talk about all the mechanisms quite detailed. And as is with everything, I think that sometimes the books try to be like too fatalistic, like, oh, coffee is the worst thing in the world. As everything, you have to be more nuanced, and I took some lessons from the book, especially the fact that, yeah, coffee doesn't give you energy, but puts you stress. That's what it does, essentially. It's just stress to your body, and I don't want to have more stress in my life. I think that most of us have enough stress in their life, so why try to put more stress? And as I mentioned, weeks and months before, I've been realizing that, yeah, I feel more anxious, even though I've been working a lot in to be more in a more state of peace, and less anxious and less fearful, less preoccupied. I mean, that's what this all the videos have been about, all this process that I've been going through. So, and but still, I was a little bit more anxious while having coffee. And yeah, in a sense, you have more energy, but and your mind is more active. But this doesn't mean that's better. I mean, a more active mind doesn't mean that you will get more things done. It can be the opposite. And as I mentioned during the meditation, this is quite obvious, because if you want to quiet your mind and be in a relaxed state of being, coffee does the opposite. It's like doing the work more difficult. So that was a very, I mean, it now sounds obvious, but at the time it didn't sound obvious at all. So the first 3 days, as mentioned, was they were pretty bad, but from day 4 starts things get better. My energy is more stable in a sense. I don't have like big dips of energy. It's quite stable during the day, and my sleep. I don't know if I would say that my sleep was pretty good, so I don't feel changed that much. Um, but I think that I can wake up with more, in a sense, more energy. That's something that I've been noticing. Of course, I will make a video like 30 days after no coffee, and to see if there are more benefits or um, more difference that I noticed. I think that after 1 week is still pretty soon, but I want to talk about the process, the rationale behind leaving, stop having coffee, and why I'm doing that. Because as with everything, it's important to have clear motivation about why you are doing stuff. And for me, was this sense of dependence. I didn't like to be depending on any substance to go through my life, and I realized that I don't really need it. But there is a small price to pay, and it's those withdrawal effects that last for me at least 3 days, and now it's getting better. I would say that I feel quite okay without any need of coffee, and so I'm quite happy, and I feel very relaxed during the day. Almost no anxiety during the day, which is, I think, is extremely, when you, it may not feel, you may think you are a very relaxed person and calm, but if you are on coffee or caffeine, but if you stop it for a couple of days, you will realize how much calm you can be and more relaxed. And for me, this is extremely important to have peace of mind, because especially if you do like deep thinking, or you like to contemplate about life or about your work, I think that having a relaxed state of mind is crucial in this, especially in this fast-paced world. And for me, this is extremely important, and I think that is the best benefit. The fact that I can relax my body way more during the meditation, and a relaxed body produce a relaxed mind. So during the day I feel very relaxed, which I think is extremely underrated. I never thought about this in the past. I never thought that this could be important. I only care about success, or trying to go as fast as possible, to do whatever it takes. Very like high achiever sort of mindset. But over the last couple of months, um, I've been realizing that, yeah, this is, I mean, just trying to go as fast as possible for the sake of doing it is not the best strategy, at least for me. So, and I've been, what's the word, valuing way more this calm state of mind. I think it's become so important to me that that's why I want to make this video, to try to share with you, well, not necessarily convince you, because I think that all of us are in different stages of life. And a couple of months ago, probably the idea of quitting coffee would be crazy or ridiculous, but sometimes you have to be in the right place at the right time to make changes in your life. And also, I have some lessons, because last year I also tried to quit coffee and I failed. So, but I learned some lessons from the experience, because last year I also tried to quit coffee and I stayed for a couple of months without it, but somehow I didn't feel that great. I still felt quite empty in a sense. And at some point, after a couple of months, one day my mind convinced me to have only one coffee. That's the biggest trap ever, just one coffee. And wow, was so incredible. I mean, I felt so high the whole day, and I just had one coffee and I felt high the whole day. It was pretty incredible. I never felt so good while having coffee, but it only lasts once because next day I want to repeat the experience, and that's the problem with caffeine and well, mostly all addictions. No, that the first time you feel in heaven, but then you want to repeat the experience and doesn't work, and then you need more and more and more. So you end up in a downward spiral, and you feel even worse, and then you just need the substance, in this case caffeine, to go to baseline. And I found this quite unacceptable for me, at least. So I now have the lesson from last year, and I know that, I mean, I'm not saying that I will never have coffee in the future, but at least during the rest of the year I want to stay clean of it, because I want to, clean my body and reset. And maybe, yeah, in the future I may have one here and there, but I want to, I don't want to associate caffeine, coffee, with work and with productivity, because I realize that doesn't work really. Yeah, your mind is more accelerated, but I think that at some point this becomes detrimental, because whatever big thing you want to do, whatever deep thinking, you need a quiet mind, not a racing mind. And the energy stuff, I think that, yeah, the problem is that a lot of us um, neglect our health and don't take care of our bodies, don't sleep properly. So we use coffee as a sort of band aid, but in the long term, I don't think it's worth the damage that you can do to your body, especially if you abuse. I mean, again, if you have one coffee here and there, I don't think it's a problem. But and there are more people that are more sensitive to coffee than others. There are people that even one cup of coffee, like my dad, for example, cannot have coffee, gets very nervous and like jittery. Um, and for me, it was okay, but still, I can notice the subtle difference. It's not a very big difference, but I can notice a subtle difference in that I a little bit more anxious. Yeah, I have more energy, but it's like a stress. Literally, coffee is stress to your body, and if you are already in a high stress environment, I think that extra stress is not the best strategy, right? So, anyways, so that's been the process, the lessons I learned from last year. So I have to be very careful, and because I don't want to make the mistakes again, because also the withdrawal effects are not nice. I mean, I think that this year this process being way better than last year. Last year I think it took me way longer to get to a good state of being. Now, as I mentioned, the first 3 days were quite crappy, but now I feel way better and with energy. So I'm very happy about this. To be free of the substance. And so now the question is, should you leave coffee? So first, of course, I'm not gonna tell you what you should do or shouldn't with your life, because that's your decision. And I also want to give this message, because even the title says maybe you should. I think that in all this self-improvement, personal development, it's very important to so that you become aware of what's best for you. Because yeah, I can't tell you you should do this, you should do that, but personal development is a personal journey. That's why it's called personal. Is your own path in life. So you have to see by yourself and be very mindful and very critical about your decisions in life. And maybe for you, yeah, quitting coffee could be a good idea to reduce your consumption, or you can try as a test for a couple of weeks to see how it goes. If you drink too much, maybe it's not a good idea to go cold turkey right away, because you will feel quite terrible. Even myself, that I didn't have strong consumption, I have headaches for a couple of days, and it's not nice. I mean, you feel like useless. And if you are like, you have like a normal job, or you're studying and you need to be sharp, maybe it's best to wait until you have a holiday, or a week where you can clean yourself from coffee or whatever substance for that matter. So I'm not going to tell you you have to, coffee is the devil. I don't think this is that helpful, and because even for me, for example, I remember I started eating plant-based like 4 years ago, and I not haven't eaten meat since then, essentially, or animal products. And before that, if someone told me about this veganism stuff, I would find ridiculous, and because I love meat. I used to love meat. Every day I ate meat, and this vegan stuff was like nonsense for me. But at some point things made sense, and I didn't need like external validation or to be convinced by someone else. At some point I realized that, yeah, for me this could be a good idea, and I did it. So no, there is no discussion, no problem. It's quite direct once you really come yourself to the conclusion. But I wouldn't tell anyone, yeah, you should be vegan or whatever. The same reason here, I find I couldn't tell you, yeah, you have to leave coffee. I think that everyone's life is unique, and it may work for you, it may not work for you now, but maybe in a couple of months, or maybe in a year, or maybe you are okay, you don't have any problem with coffee, you don't have a dependence problem. You may have one day and not another day, that's perfect. But if you have trouble with it, if it's affecting your health, your sense of peace, and you are abusing it because, yeah, you want to perform, but you're not feeling that great either, then yeah, in that case it could work for you. But after all, each life is unique, and I cannot tell you what you should do. But maybe this experience I'm sharing with you could be useful for the better, to change some habit, not necessarily quitting coffee, but a different habit that may be bothering you, like video games, for example. I also used to play a lot of video games until one day I decided I don't want to. I want to become the character of I want to make my life a video game, and I stopped playing it. And really was easy compared to coffee. Coffee is a little bit more difficult because it affects your energy levels, your sense of how good you feel. So it's quite, I found it quite much challenging. So maybe it's not the best for you, but maybe it is. So you have to see by yourself. That's what this journey is about, to figure out what works best for you and what doesn't. And I think that's enough for today. So if you like the video, leave a like, subscribe. Also have the written version of this in the description. I think I will also leave in the description the link from the book if you want to be convinced, to get more evidence. But again, the best evidence is your personal experience. You can read all the books about this, but if you don't do it yourself, or you don't see by yourself the benefits, then it's pointless. So I think that's the key takeaway I want to leave from this video. And yeah, more new stuff is coming in the next weeks, and I will do an update probably after 30 days, so you can see if I feel better or not, and you may jump into quitting coffee. So that's it for today.